This is my debut video, and these videos are going to be based on hardcore slash deathmatch wrestling, and I might do other stuff. It just depends on what mood I'm in. But basically, all these videos are going to be about that genre of wrestling, and this video is going to be based on the difference between hardcore wrestling and deathmatch wrestling. Yes, they're in the same genre, but there's a difference. But I'm going to do a brief history on hardcore wrestling and where it came from and how it got started. Basically, how it got started was it was in the South about 1950s ish, but it wasn't called hardcore wrestling back then. It was more like brawling and stuff like that. But blood was really a no-no back then, and when it progressed, some of like wrestlers like Abdullah, the Butcher, the Sheik, Bull Curry, wrestlers like that, and innovated hardcore wrestling and kind of evolved it from where it was through like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they did like brawls and had the brass knucks. Like the NWA had the brass knucks championship, was a hardcore belt, but it wasn't called a hardcore belt. And so that's pretty much how it got started, like a brief history of it. Then you had FMW, who debuted in 1989, which brought death matches in from Japan, and that started the deathmatch movement, which it was a type of hardcore wrestling, but it was more extreme. That's what Onita wanted, is more extreme wrestling to show people. Then ECW came, then so on and so on. And basically that's a brief introduction to what it is now, which it's kind of died down, but it wasn't as big, was it, in the 90s with ECW, which kind of started it in the US. But kind of like the WWE kind of still goes on with hardcore matches. Just depends on what it is. Like Hell in a Cell would be a certain one. TLC, ladder matches, table matches would be all considered hardcore. Like TNA does hardcore stuff still, and all that. Then like on the other hand, like I said, FMW started the deathmatch genre, which was more like no rebar, explosions, glass. Later on, it was glass, and Big Japan started using fluorescent light tubes, and in the U.S., CZW started doing death matches, and IW Mid-South. Then Canada had IWS, who does death matches in Canada, and NGX in Mexico does death matches. Just different promotions, which I will go on in a different pay-per-view, in a different video. I will explain all the promotions that I like and the difference between them. But this one is basically the difference between those two types of wrestling, but the same genre. Like I said, hardcore is more not extreme, but it's more like DQ, as they would do disqualifications. Would be more hardcore. Like Extreme Rules would be, not saying hardcore wrestling, but you just say Extreme Rules if you want to go in the WWE, basically. And death matches are more severe, like I said before, than hardcore. Hardcore is more, if you want to go in the lines, more not as extreme, but more than extreme. Like if you want to go like wrestling wise, like wrestlers like Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, RVD, wrestlers like that. And then like on the other hand, deathmatch wrestlers would be more like Zandig, Lobo, Onita, Pogo, Nick Gage, Ian Rotten, Axel Rotten. More along those lines, like Madman Pondo, Necro Butcher. Those are more like deathmatch wrestlers than hardcore guys. The hardcore, like some of them can do both, like Cactus Jack or Mick Foley, Terry Funk, got guys like that can do both, but they more aligned do more hardcore stuff than death matches. They have done death matches in the past, but they're more aligned hardcore stuff. And so that's all this video is about explaining the difference between both of them. And I hope you like it, so I'll see y'all later.